Well, hello again to everybody. It's Easter 2009, and we have a beautiful, sunny, holy Saturday day here at the Hermitage, and we are in full preparation for our Easter Vigil this evening. This year, of course, after the fire, we can't celebrate in the same way that we normally do because we simply don't have the space. We have our community jammed inside a beautiful but a very small chapel. And consequently, we can invite over, the 50 to 80 friends and neighbors and do the full celebrations. Normally, our Seder feast is on the floor at tables done in a Middle Eastern style, and then it's in the midst of that Seder that we celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper. Our Good Friday service is about 2 hours long and most beautiful, including a Stations of the Cross and a reflection on what Jesus actually went through on the cross, as well as the services of the church. And of course, our Easter Vigil is in a big church is filled with symbolism and great joy, and the children even get into the act after the liturgy and do some dancing. And none of that will be possible this year. This year, where we used to have our common center and chapel, of course, right now is just a big hole in the ground. It's a hole that has some footings dug and some foundations laid, and a big retainer wall with big, really they're 2 by 3 by 6 limestone blocks that are stacked up about 12 feet high to keep the hillside back. And then, of course, the building will go inside of that. But this has been a real reminder for us to work on our foundations. In my Easter message that was written this year, I did what I called an Easter manifesto, really looking at the foundations of Western civilization and calling us to return to our roots. Probably the greatest thing that I ask people to reflect on is that before World War I, 24 out of every 25 families in America was a farming family. And at the end of World War II, 24 out of every 25 families in America had moved to the city. By 1983, 49 out of every 50 families lived in the city. And today they say it's 97, 98 out of every 100 families live in the city. So what this means is that as a civilization, we've moved away from the foundations of a civilization that can produce its own basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, energy, and yes, we also need a little entertainment. And if the majority of the population moves away from knowing how to create these things, and all we know how to do is to produce specialized things, especially in the realms of technology, then we are a top-heavy culture and easily toppleable when we face crises such as this economic crisis or an environmental crisis or even the crises of war. And of course, we're involved in many, many wars, either directly or indirectly at this point in time. So that's just one of the issues that I really bring up in my written Easter manifesto. But all of us, certainly beginning on the spiritual level, are called to go back to our roots. You can't build a good society unless you first have good families. And you can't have good families if you don't have good people. And you can't have good people if you don't have good spirituality. So during this Easter, we are called back to that very basic of Christianity, that we are to die and rise with Christ, that the way of resurrection is found first through a complete self-emptying, in the self-emptying of Jesus. And the Easter resurrection is kind of an absolute proof from God that yes, this way of letting go of self doesn't lead to self-annihilation. It leads to self-discovery, of discovering the person that God originally created us to be in the first place, and that we have so often in our life have mislaid or grown away from, so that we end up not being very happy, and the people around us don't end up being very happy with us either. So this Easter, let's get back to basics. Let's get back to spiritual basics, and then let's move out to that, to our real sociological basics, because we live in a society that is under fire, and in a society that is out of balance, in a society that is in deep trouble. So let's get out of this deep trouble with the great joy and the hope and the assurance of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Everybody have a happy Easter and a holy Easter season this year. Thank you now.